Hey up everyone! So the Critics' Choice Awards are just a few days away, so it's that time for me to give you my final prediction as to who I think the winners are going to be. The Critics' Choice Awards have been delayed due to the fires that are taking place in California. So they're now going to be on February 7th. I will be doing a reaction video to the winners on February 8th. So yeah, if you want to see my thoughts on the winners, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We'll have a discussion about what it means for the Oscars. I genuinely believe that this is the most unpredictable award season we've had ever since I've been predicting the Oscars on YouTube for fun. Partly due to the fires that have taken place and the delays that have happened, but also this award season has just been so topsy-turvy, like rife with controversy after controversy. We still don't have like solidified frontrunners in some of the major categories like Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress. Hopefully the Critics' Choice and PGA winners will give us an indication of who the frontrunners are, but I am still kind of mentally preparing for more chaos to occur with the winners at the Critics' Choice Awards. Critics themselves don't always see eye to eye with the industry, but the Critics' Choice Awards have often lit the path for like certain contenders like Brendan Fraser winning Best Actor, Jessica Chastain winning Best Actress. So yeah, they might give us some clarity in a few categories, but they also might choose some chaos. Honestly, with the way that this whole award season has unfolded, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some batshit crazy results here. The question that I'm really asking myself though is, will the critics go as hard for Emilia Perez as all the other awards bodies have? Like, it won 4 Golden Globes, but it actually has the potential to win even more at the Critics' Choice Awards. Remember, these awards have been delayed, okay? Voting took place for these awards back in early January, and that was before all the Emilia Perez controversy started coming to the surface. It feels like every day there's some new drama surrounding Emilia Perez, but most of that drama occurred after voting for the Critics' Choice Awards had already finished, so it's likely that we could see Emilia Perez winning quite a few awards here. You just know that if Emilia Perez ends up being the biggest winner at the Critics' Choice Awards, then there's going to be more outrage on Twitter and socials, because a lot of people don't have a comprehensive knowledge of the timeline of award season, when voting began and when voting ends, and also this being an especially unusual year, what with the fires and, you know, voting being delayed or being extended for certain awards groups. And yeah, if Emilia Perez does end up winning a lot of awards, it's gonna, you know, add more fuel to the fire. But yes, if Emilia Perez really is cooked, I don't know if we'll actually see the effects of the backlash really occur until the BAFTAs, because, you know, BAFTA voting is still going on right now. It doesn't close to like February 11th. So yeah, that's like a week from now. But yeah, there's still a chance that Emilia Perez could have a heavy windfall at the Critics' Choice Awards. Yeah, we will see in a few days' time. As always, I'm going to be putting my predictions in on the Awards Expert app. If you guys want to see all of my predictions for all the awards groups over awards season, you can find them there. It's just my name, @Hearfield. It's the same on all my socials. Follow us if you like. I'm just going to go through all the categories as they are on the Awards Expert app. So yeah, the first one is the big one, which is Best Film. When it comes to predicting Best Picture at the Critics' Choice Awards, I'm honestly not sure which way it's going to go this year. You're best off predicting one of the winners for either Best Film, Drama, or Comedy/Musical at the Golden Globes, which was The Brutalist and Emilia Perez. But I'm not 100% locked in on either of those films winning at the Critics' Choice. And the reason for that is because the race for Best Picture this year is so wide open. It is the widest we have seen in years, okay? Like, normally at this point, there's maybe like 3 films that are in contention to win Best Picture, but last year was a dead cert with Oppenheimer. But yeah, this year, it's like 6 at this point in the race, which is ridiculous. I can make an argument for Anora, The Brutalist, Wicked, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and a complete unknown even. Like, any one of those could end up winning Best Picture at the Oscars. So yeah, I'm not locked in on any film winning this yet, but hopefully the winner at Critics' Choice will help narrow it down a little bit, because if it is The Brutalist, then yeah, it's won 2 substantial wins in the precursors, so that will definitely give it legit frontrunner status at that point. But we could see a challenger here, okay? We could see something like Conclave show up here. We could see Wicked, maybe. We could see Anora. And call me crazy, but I even think that there is a slim chance that The Substance could win here. But currently, the #1 pick on the Awards Expert app is Anora, which is the film that I have been leaning towards. Anora desperately needs a win in Best Picture if it's going to go all the way and win Best Picture at the Oscars, because it already lost the Golden Globe in the Comedy Musical category to Emilia Perez. Although we do need to bear in mind that the awards bodies of Golden Globe and Critics' Choice are quite different in size, because Golden Globes is like 300 members, Critics' Choice I believe is double that, it's like 600 and something. So yeah, there is a big difference in numbers, but the voting is kind of similar because a lot of it is like critics. So you'd think there would be a bit of overlapping taste with the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice. A lot of time has passed since Anora's Palme d'Or win at the Cannes Film Festival, and if it's gonna win Best Picture at the Oscars, it does need to pick up a big Best Picture win at one of the big precursors, whether it be Critics' Choice, BAFTA, SAG Ensemble, I'd say, and also PGA. And if it doesn't win one of those four, then its odds of winning Best Picture at the Oscars are very slim. The good news for all you Anora fans is that the film has showed up everywhere that it needed to, indicating that there is support for Anora, but it really does need to net a win, and Critics' Choice might be the place to do it. Anora had a decent turnout with the Critics' Choice nominations, okay? It got 7, and they were all in above-the-line categories, and there is a lot of love for Anora in the critics' circles. It has a critic rating of 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. But what has me concerned about Anora is that it is a comedy, and typically, Critics' Choice do tend to side more with, the Golden Globe drama winners than they do the comedy ones, even though it didn't even win the comedy musical at the Golden Globes. It lost to Amelia Perez. I'm wondering, will the critics prefer the more serious, dramatic fare of, say, The Brutalist than they will the screwball antics of Anora? Again, it's just that sort of genre bias that comes into your mind. Also, The Brutalist did get the exact same critics score on Rotten Tomatoes with 93%. And it really does seem like Brady Corbet, the director of The Brutalist, is the frontrunner for Best Director, and often they do like to pair directing with Best Picture, so it makes sense that, The Brutalist would walk away with both directing and Best Film. To be fair, The Brutalist and Anora share a similar theme of what the American dream is, but I could potentially see critics leaning more towards The Brutalist because it's also commenting on the immigration experience as well as the after effects of the Holocaust. It's just a little bit more of a serious fare than, a stripper falling in love with a Russian billionaire, getting married and getting annulled. I personally prefer Anora to The Brutalist, but I do think that The Brutalist is more ambitious in scope and size and scale, and, in comparison to its budget, it is a triumphant accomplishment. What Brady Corbet pulled off with only like a $10 million budget. But part of me also wonders, did the 3.5-hour runtime of The Brutalist put some voters off? Anora is a bit more of a breezy crowd pleaser, but history does suggest that they will give it to one of the films that won the Golden Globe for Best Drama or Best Comedy/Musical. And if it's not Amelia Perez, then the next logical pick is The Brutalist. I'm not convinced that Critics' Choice will give Amelia Perez Best Film. They might give it Best International Film, but I do think for Best Film, it will probably either come down to The Brutalist or Anora, but that's not to say that something else can't surprise here. There is an argument to be made for Conclave, even though I know, like Anora, it hasn't really won a big Best Picture prize and a precursor yet, but it is one of those films that is generally quite well liked by everyone. Most people at least like it, and a lot of people love it. Conclave does have this feeling of like a political thriller, and the Critics' Choice don't typically go for that for Best Film. But again, like Anora and The Brutalist, it does have a 93% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, so yeah, people do like the film, but it mostly seems like Peter Straughan is the one being acknowledged for writing the screenplay for Conclave, rather than it winning Best Film. The thing is, I could see Conclave winning, but it would be a bit of a surprise at this point. And again, like Anora, if it is going to win Best Picture at the Oscars, then it really does need to pick up a Best Picture win at one of the big precursors somewhere. Amelia Perez's win for Comedy/Musical at the Golden Globes means I do have to take it seriously, even though I am baffled by how well it's done over this award season. I'm not so sure of it winning Best Film at Critics' Choice. Maybe at BAFTA, but even that seems less likely now that all the controversy has come to light. It feels like Amelia Perez has received so many nominations this year because it looks progressive, and the liberal Hollywood elite love to give themselves a pat on the back by nominating films, that seem like they are progressive. Just look at Green Book and Crash, but really all they're saying is very surface level, okay? And it's the same with Amelia Perez. And I don't think that critics are as virtue signaling as the rest of the industry is. I think most voters in the Critics' Choice Awards group are aware that there is a disconnect between the industry, which has really been lifting Amelia Perez up, and general audiences who really don't like the film. So I don't think they're gonna feel the need to champion Emilia Perez for best film. The thing is, they don't even go for non-English speaking films in this category. In fact, it's only happened once with Alfonso Cuarón's Roma. Not even Parasite managed to win at Critics' Choice. And I don't think that critics hold Emilia Perez in the same regard as, say, Alfonso Cuarón's Roma, that has like 96% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Whereas Emilia Perez, it's like 73, okay? That's quite a gap. So yeah, Emilia Perez is not universally loved by critics like Roma was. So yeah, I'm not predicting Emilia Perez to win Best Film here. Like I said before, there is a little part of me that thinks maybe The Substance could pull off a surprise win here. It's one of the films I've seen pop up the most on a lot of critics' top 10 movies of 2024 lists. Part of me does like to toy with the idea, what if there are enough, critics at Critics' Choice who really love The Substance and decide to vote against the grain, go for something a little unconventional and give their vote to The Substance to win. I mean, I know it seems very unlikely. I don't think it's going to happen. But there's a little part of me that thinks, well, Demi Moore won the Golden Globe for The Substance. I mean, that was exciting. And yeah, people were excited when Coralie Fargeat got the Best Director nomination at the Oscars. What if the critics want to keep the excitement going and, give The Substance a win for Best Picture? That would be absolutely wild. But yeah, I don't know if there would be a majority. I just don't think so. I don't think it's enough people's favorite film to, take it across the finish line, but there is a little part of me that wonders, what if? I can justify it to myself because I do think Demi Moore can win Best Actress at Critics' Choice, and often with the Critics' Choice, Best Film, there is an acting performance that comes along with it. So why couldn't it be The Substance, hypothetically? But yeah, I feel like I'm kidding myself and deluding myself. It's a hope diction because The Substance was my favorite film of 2024. I'm not saying it will, but if the Critics' Choice Awards did give Best Film to The Substance, then hypothetically it could start a domino effect of excitement, kind of like Everything Everywhere All at Once. When that started winning, people got very excited, and yeah, if it won at Critics' Choice Awards Best Film, that might actually create a snowball effect, where people just want to see it win more and more and more. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but yeah, I would like to see it happen. But it would be such a cool win if they did go with The Substance, and sometimes the Critics' Choice do something cool, like when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won Best Picture over 1917. But yeah, sadly, there just isn't enough historical evidence or precursor stats that would make me feel confident in predicting that they would go with The Substance. The Substance would have to overcome some crazy odds to win Best Picture at Critics' Choice, but imagine how excited people would be if it did win Best Picture at Critics' Choice, because then you can kind of justify the idea of it maybe winning Best Picture at the Oscars. But yeah, again, we have to be grateful that it's even nominated for Best Picture. Okay, guys, that's the victory. Any other wins for Substance is a bonus. At the moment, Wicked is currently number 3 on the Awards Expert app. I'm not going to predict Wicked to win here, mostly because critics don't really feel the need to award big, fun, summary, money-making blockbusters like Wicked. I mean, I know Oppenheimer made a lot of money and won last year. But yeah, you can say that Oppenheimer was more serious fare than Wicked is. I feel the Wicked stand's getting ready to attack me in the comment section. I know it's got some lovely themes in there about self-acceptance and compassion and marginalized communities, okay? I'm not saying it doesn't have some serious themes. I'm just saying it is still a fun sing-along movie, and it's very colorful and very bright, and in a lot of ways it's similar to Barbie, and Barbie didn't win here last year. I'm not expecting Wicked to win here. And I actually do think there is still a pathway for Wicked to win Best Picture at the Oscars, but it's not via the Critics' Choice Awards, okay? It's more likely the pathway of SAG Ensemble, then maybe winning Best Picture. But if Wicked did somehow manage to win Best Film at the Critics' Choice Awards, then yeah, a lot of people will probably switch lanes and say, oh yeah, it's gonna win Best Picture at the Oscars. Oh yeah, but I need to pick, who do I think is gonna win in this category? Right now, I feel like the logical pick is The Brutalist because of its Golden Globe win for Best Drama. And usually it is one of the two films that won, Best Film at the Golden Globes that goes on to win at Critics' Choice Awards. Yeah, The Brutalist kind of does have the momentum right now, and also Brady Corbet is the frontrunner for Best Director, and they do like to pair Best Director and Best Picture together quite a lot at the Critics' Choice Awards. Just looking at the last 10 years of the Critics' Choice Awards, Best Picture and Best Director have matched 8 out of 10 times. But again, it is hard to know whether a majority of the voters prefer Anora or The Brutalist, because the scores are the same on Rotten Tomatoes. Both of them were critically acclaimed, but do they prefer the 3.5-hour drama epic or the fun, screwball, romantic comedy. I think this is a really close race, but it does feel like The Brutalist has a little bit more going for it at the moment. So yeah, while deep down I'm actually hoping that The Substance surprises and wins Best Film, I do think it's going to come down to either The Brutalist or Anora. And I'm going to predict that the winner is going to be The Brutalist. I personally prefer Anora and rather see Anora win, but The Brutalist does have momentum, so I'm gonna go with The Brutalist. Okay, so next up is Best Director, and I've already said my piece on this. I think it is gonna go to Brady Corbet for The Brutalist. He's been sweeping the award season thus far, he's got the momentum, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's locked in. One thing to point out about this category is that the Critics' Choice don't often acknowledge actors turned directors, for Best Director. Just looking at previous nominees, Greta Gerwig, Bradley Cooper, Denzel Washington, Kenneth Branagh, Mel Gibson, Emerald Fennell, Regina King, Sarah Polley, none of them managed to win Best Director. The last time it actually happened was Ben Affleck for Argo back in 2012, and I would say he had a strong narrative that year. But I will say that Brady Corbet has been winning a lot more director trophies than all those other actors that I just listed. Could we be in for a surprise with this category? I mean, there's always potential for a surprise, but Brady Corbet does make the most rational sense, I'd say. But the lineup is good this year. I mean, I could see like Jacques Audiard winning if there is a lot of effusive love for Emilia Perez from the critics, or even like maybe a surprise win for Coralie Farjar or Ramel Ross. But it's a question of whether the Critics' Choice Awards will want to follow the pattern of going with Brady Corbet, or, giving us something different and giving us more of a race. If the race was different and we didn't have like 6 films that I could see winning Best Picture at the Oscars, then yeah, I would feel more assured that yeah, Brady Corbet is definitely going to win this. But as it stands, there is no clear frontrunner for Best Picture at the Oscars just yet. So for Best Director, there could be a change in direction if the Critics' Choice Awards are feeling cheeky. I'd love to see Coralie Farjar win in this category, but again, there's a little part of me that thinks it could happen. It's very unlikely, but part of me would love to see it happen. And while I do want to see Coralie Farjar win something, I think she's more likely to win Screenplay than she is Director. I mean, the fact that she was nominated for Director is a huge victory, because yeah, directing horror movies very rarely gets acknowledged. Last time was like Jordan Peele for Get Out. So yeah, predicting it to win is a little too optimistic, I think. Sean Baker has been picking up some screenplay wins, but he hasn't really won for directing. So again, it feels like if he's going to win something, it'll be more for writing than it is directing. Also, there's like a teeny tiny part of me that thinks, what if the Critics' Choice were cool and gave it to Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2, kind of like they did for George Miller with Mad Max Fury Road. And just because this year is so chaotic, I could see it happening, but again, I'm not going to predict it. Ramel Ross has won some prizes for directing in a few critics groups, but his lack of a directing nomination at BAFTA and at the Oscars doesn't give me confidence that this is his time. But if he were to win, that would be very cool. Edward Berger seems unlikely because Conclave is being championed more for the screenplay than it is directing. But yeah, Berger was snubbed once again for directing at the Oscars, so it seems very unlikely, but never say never. But also, Critics' Choice do have a history of going with the presumed frontrunner for Best Director at the Oscars, and that very much does feel like Brady Corbet. So yeah, my final prediction for Best Director is Brady Corbet. Okay, so next up we have Best Ensemble. Looking at the previous winners for Best Ensemble at Critics' Choice, they usually do gravitate towards Best Picture contenders. There is the occasional outlier, like Glass Onion managed to win this a couple years ago, but you are probably better off predicting a Best Picture contender to win this category. But part of me does think that Critics' Choice might actually go for Sing Sing for Ensemble, even though it's not nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, or SAG Ensemble for that matter. The thing is, if they do choose Sing Sing as the winner, then they've inadvertently made the race even harder to call, because Sing Sing isn't nominated for SAG Ensemble or Best Picture at the Oscars, so it's not going to give us a clue as to who's going to win those categories. Part of me is a little scared that they might actually go for Emilia Perez, because voting took place before all the controversy came to light. The cast is quite diverse. There's a trans woman in the lead role, something we don't often see, and some voters may think, that's really good representation. But then again, there has been a lot of uproar about the lack of actual Mexican people involved in this film that is set in Mexico. When you actually look at the term ensemble, no film feels more like an ensemble piece than Saturday Night, but it is hard for me to predict it because Saturday Night has had such a mid-reception. It didn't show up anywhere at BAFTA or SAG or Oscars. Wicked is more of a double act, with the rest of the cast being like background players. Anora does become more of an ensemble film during the second and third act, but it's still very much Anora's film, okay? And Mikey Madison does steal it. I could see Conclave maybe pulling off a win here, even though I know it is mostly the Ray Fiennes show, but there is a strong roster of supporting performances in Conclave. So yeah, while it is tempting to go with a film that's actually nominated for Best Picture, I think I'm actually leaning more towards Sing Sing because it does have that feel-good narrative. It's a win that voters can feel good about, you know, seeing former ex-cons, you know, playing versions of themselves, and really, even though it is the Coleman Domingo show, like, there is still an ensemble of players taking part in the play that they're putting on within the film, okay? It's kind of there in the premise of the film of Sing Sing. That's what I would give my vote to, so yeah, I'm gonna predict Sing Sing wins Best Ensemble. Okay, so next up we have Best Actress, my favorite race this whole awards season, and I can see it going to potentially one of three different people here. So it's either gonna go to Mikey Madison, Demi Moore, or perhaps Marianne Jean-Baptiste. Demi Moore won the Golden Globe, so you can argue she has the momentum, and she also gave an amazing speech, the type of speech that can reverberate throughout awards season, okay? When you give a speech that's that good, yeah, people want to see more of you. They want to see what else you have to say. She also has the comeback narrative, kind of like Brendan Fraser. Now, granted, her performance is in a genre film, which doesn't typically bode well, but the thing is, the substance has kind of broken all the barriers when it comes to genre bias this award season, so there's no reason to believe that Demi Moore can't also win here if she already won a Golden Globe. Plus, the substance is tied with Anora with 7 nominations at Critics' Choice, meaning that she and Mikey Madison are on pretty even turf. The thing with Demi Moore is that since she won the Golden Globe, a lot of people have jumped ship and said, yeah, it's hers, it's in the bag. But the thing is, we don't know that yet, okay? It could just be a one-off fluke, okay? But we're all getting so caught up in it because it's a genre film performance and not conventional, and you know, it's kind of similar to like Emma Stone and Michelle Yeoh winning the last 2 years, and maybe can continue that trend of winning in unorthodox sci-fi movies for Best Actress, but there is a chance that we've read far too much into this Golden Globe win. But yeah, Demi Moore's win at the Golden Globes could just be an anomaly, a delightful surprise. When it comes to Mikey Madison though, she has the most Best Actress wins in critics groups, way more than Demi Moore does. So yeah, you would think if she's winning a load of critics groups, then Critics' Choice would also go for her. She might have lost the Golden Globe to Demi Moore, but she can still gain some of that momentum back from Demi Moore. Nora is a critical darling and does have a better shot of winning Best Picture at Critics' Choice Awards. And like I said before, with the Critics' Choice, for the Best Picture winner, there usually is a acting winner that comes along with it. And hypothetically, if it was Anora, you would think the titular performance of Mikey Madison would, you know, come along with it. More so than I'd say for Yuri Borisov, but it would be nice to see them both win. So yeah, I do think there is a very strong chance that the pendulum is going to swing back in Mikey Madison's favor here. Then there's Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who I think is the wild card pick. The only reason I think there is a slight chance that she could surprise and win here is because Marianne Jean-Baptiste did manage to win Best Actress at the National Film Society of Critics, as well as NYFC and LAFC Association. Only 5 actresses have managed to do that in history. That's Imelda Staunton for Vera, Sally Hawkins for Happy Go Lucky, and Cate Blanchett twice actually for Tar and Blue Jasmine. But yeah, Marianne Jean-Baptiste is the first woman of color to achieve that stat, so perhaps she is strong enough to surprise here. But the downside for Marianne Jean-Baptiste is that she was the sole nomination for Hard Truths, which doesn't really bode well for her chances. This is a tough one because I do think there's a strong chance that Mikey Madison can pull it back, but I am gonna go with Demi Moore in this instance because she does have the momentum, she gave that amazing speech, and I think the Critics' Choice are gonna wanna see her up on that stage giving it another amazing speech. So yeah, I'll be happy either way, let's just say that, but I think, yeah, I'm gonna go with Demi Moore for Best Actress at Critics' Choice. But yeah, who do you guys think is gonna win this category? In fact, all the categories. Let me know your Critics' Choice predictions in that comment section down below. And if you want more of this award season content, be sure to click that subscribe button. And if you're enjoying the video, do help me out with a little thumbs up button. It's fantastic for the algorithm. All right, so next up we have actor in a leading role. The question that I'm asking myself with this category is, will the Adrian Brody sweep commence, or will a challenger present themselves here? I would say Brody's biggest threats here are Timothée Chalamet and Coleman Domingo. The thing to remember is that Critics' Choice don't typically go for biopic performances, you know, people playing famous musicians, because Austin Butler didn't win for playing Elvis, Rami Malek didn't win here for playing Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody, And I guess you can say Bradley Cooper didn't win here for playing Leonard Bernstein in Maestro, but that's more of a composer than a musician. So yeah, I'm not sure about Timothée Chalamet winning here at Critics' Choice. Maybe the SAG Award, because A Complete Unknown did very well with the SAG nominations. Compare that to Critics' Choice, where A Complete Unknown only got 3 nominations. But Colman Domingo, I could see pulling off a win here. He's who I would vote for personally, even though I think Adrien Brody is still amazing in The Brutalist. I just prefer Colman Domingo a little bit more. But I think I am still going to predict Adrien Brody to win here, solely because he is in a Best Picture contender. And like I said, if The Brutalist does end up winning Best Picture at Critics' Choice, then you'd think 1 or maybe 2 acting performances would come along with it, and Brody does make the most sense. So yeah, I'm gonna lock it in now. I'm gonna say Adrien Brody wins for The Brutalist. Okay, so next up is Best Supporting Actress, and this is an important one because the winner of Best Supporting Actress at the Critics' Choice has gone on to win the Oscar 17 out of the last 24 years. That's like a 70% success ratio. Right now, Ariana Grande is #1 on the Awards Expert app, and she's who I want to see win. I do really want this to be an actual race between Ariana Grande and Zoe Saldana. Right now, Zoe Saldana has the lead, and Ariana Grande really does need to pick up a win somewhere, but I'm just not sure if Critics' Choice is the place where she does win. But she definitely could win here. The thing is, Ariana Grande has technically won more Critics Group prizes than Saldana has. And there is no denying that Ariana Grande in Wicked was one of the biggest surprising performances of the year, okay? She proved so many naysayers wrong, myself included. She really did impress a lot of critics, as evidenced by all the wins that she's collected in these critics groups. Like I said, I want to see Ariana Grande win this, okay? She would be my personal pick, but there is still that little tiny voice in the back of my head that says, would Critics' Choice give it to her? Because it's quite a sugary performance, even though it's amazing, but is it too sweet and light for their taste? But I am wondering, is the reason that Ariana Grande is #1 on the Awards Expert app is because Emilia Perez has hit an iceberg and it's currently sinking, and people are thinking all the controversy around it is going to prevent it from winning prizes at the awards bodies. I just don't think the timing applies to Critics' Choice because the controversy did come out quite recently, and voting for the Critics' Choice occurred weeks ago, so there's a chance that Zoe Saldana might already have been locked in before people had a chance to change their minds. So Zoe Saldana does make a lot of sense to me here, because of the two, while they are both similar in performances, because they're both like supporting roles with a lot of screen time, they are co-leads really. Both of them, and they're triple threat performances. They're both singing, acting, and dancing. They're both really, really good in their movies. But there is no denying that Emilia Perez just has a little bit more, grit to it than Wicked does. Wicked is a sweet, fun family movie, whereas Emilia Perez, is addressing like the cartel and the trans experience, and that just seems more serious now. I'm not saying there isn't serious stuff in Wicked. It's just, they do typically like to go for stuff that, is more refined than, say, something sweet and bubblegummy like Ariana Grande's performance. So, I still think Zoe Saldana might actually win the Critics' Choice, but that's not to say that Ariana Grande isn't going to win anything. I think she actually has a good chance of winning at SAG. Is there a chance that somebody else could win? I like to believe that if Demi Moore can win Best Actress, then maybe Margaret Qualley would come along and like coattail off her and see the two Substance girlies winning together. I feel like if any, awards buddy was going to do that, it would be Critics' Choice, but I don't think they're going to be that generous to the Substance, sadly. The race for the Best Supporting Actress Oscar is going to come down to Saldana or Grande, because Qualley wasn't nominated there. So it makes sense that it would go to one of those two, but there's still a chance it could be Margaret Qualley. But as much as I want to predict Ariana Grande, she's who I want to see win at the Critics' Choice, I'm still going to go with Zoe Saldana, purely based on the fact that she had the momentum from the Golden Globe win, then voting for the Critics' Choice happened quite early on in January, and I think it was already locked in, and then it just got delayed because of the fires, the ceremony, and then because the controversy of Emilia Perez started coming out, people are starting to think, it's going to affect Emilia Perez, but again, we're not going to see the knock-on effects, or if any, of Emilia Perez's downfall until at least the BAFTAs, okay? It can still have a good turnout at Critics' Choice Awards. So, I'm going to lock it in now. I'm going to say that Zoe Saldana wins the Best Supporting Actress at Critics' Choice, but I am hoping it does go to Ariana Grande. That's one way I'm hoping to be wrong, but I'm still going to predict Zoe Saldana wins there. Next up is supporting actor, and this is probably the easiest of the 4 acting categories. Kieran Culkin is the obvious frontrunner at this point. He did just win a Critics' Choice Award the previous year for Succession, so maybe some voters will be feeling like, oh, maybe we should honor someone different now. But yeah, if Kieran Culkin does win here, then we might as well say it's his Oscar to lose. I can still make an argument for Guy Pearce winning here, because The Brutalist is a contender for Best Picture, and there is a chance that Guy Pearce could come along with Adrian Brody, okay? It could happen. With Best Supporting Actor, to me, this year, it kind of feels like Guy Pearce has always been next in line for a win after Kieran Culkin. And even though Guy Pearce was snubbed at SAG, I can still kind of see a pathway for Guy Pearce to pull it back and maybe even go and win the Oscar. But he could very well be the Ryan Gosling in Barbie to Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer, you know? This year's runner-up. But if he's going to be a challenger for the Oscar, then he does need a substantial precursor win, and Critics' Choice, BAFTA, the only 2 places he can do it. And it could very well happen for him at Critics' Choice, because The Brutalist is the more nominated film than A Real Pain is. It's also more of a serious role. Kieran Culkin's is quite funny. But then again, supporting performances aren't always looked down upon for being funny. In fact, comic relief roles are more often rewarded in supporting than they are lead categories, so it doesn't really affect Culkin's chances all that much. So Kieran Culkin is sitting pretty, I'd say. I would love to see Clarence Macklin pull off a surprise win here, but like Best Supporting Actress, the winner of Best Supporting Actor at Critics' Choice is actually a pretty good indicator of who's going to go on to win the Oscar, because since the year 2000, like Best Supporting Actress, the winner of Best Supporting Actor at Critics' Choice has matched 17 out of 24 times, okay? Again, another 70% success ratio. And the fact that Clarence Macklin isn't nominated at the Oscars just makes me feel it's less likely to go to him. It'll probably go to either Kieran Culkin or Guy Pearce. So yeah, I'm going to predict Kieran Culkin to continue his sweep here, but I would love to see Guy Pearce pull off a win, and then we have an actual race in this category. All right, so next up is Best Original Screenplay, and it's probably going to go to Sean Baker for Anora, because Brady Corbet is more likely to win Best Director than Baker is. And I do think Critics' Choice will want to give Baker something, and the next most logical pick is Best Screenplay. However, I am wondering if The Substance could pull off a surprise win. While I know it's not really a dialogue-driven film, when it comes to originality, The Substance does have the most original concept, I'd say. And often the Critics' Choice do show a preference to the most high concept films like Barbie or Everything Ever All at Once. And they also love a social satire like Promising Young Woman, Get Out, or Her. And perhaps the critics will go with Coralie Fajar because they do love The Substance and they want to give her something. I kind of want to be bold here and predict Coralie Fajar for The Substance, but I'm gonna go with Sean Baker for Anora. Okay, so next up is Best Adapted Screenplay, and this is like the easiest category I've discussed so far. I don't even really feel the need to weigh up the options, because I think this is where Conclave gets its win for Peter Straub. Conclave is a dialogue-driven film, and it's very intellectually stimulating and gripping. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Conclave. If anything else does win, I will be shocked. Next up is Foreign Language Film, and this is tough because logic dictates it would go to Emilia Perez because it is nominated also in Best Film. None of the other nominees here are nominated for Best Film, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on Emilia Perez winning Foreign Language Film. It probably will, but I just don't know if critics have the same adulation for Emilia Perez that the industry does. Because when you look at the scores for all the nominees for Best International Film, Emilia Perez is one of the weakest. Like, All We Imagine Is Light has 100% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes. See the Sacred Fig has 96%. I'm Still Here has 96%, and Emilia Perez is 73%. So I kind of want to go for All We Imagine As Light, but it's just so difficult to argue with that stat. If an international feature nominee is also in Best Film, then that gives it a significant boost. It gives it a major advantage over the other nominees because it's in the top category. So in theory, that implies that it's the most liked film. It's just, it doesn't correlate to the Rotten Tomatoes scores or anything like that. It's weird, it's maths I don't understand. My personal pick would be The Seed of the Sacred Fig. I don't think it's gonna happen. I would rather it was All We Imagine As Light than Emilia Perez, but yeah, it's just, I can't argue with that stat, so begrudgingly, I'm going to pick Emilia Perez to win here. This is an instance where I'm praying that I'm wrong and it goes to one of any of the other nominees. Doesn't really matter which one, I just don't want it to be Emilia Perez, but odds are it is going to be Emilia Perez. Next up is Best Animated Film, and Flo managed to win the Golden Globe, but I do think that the Critics' Choice are gonna go with The Wild Robot. It's always sort of been the presumed frontrunner, and the fact it didn't win at Golden Globe was a bit of a surprise, but yeah, I think The Wild Robot is just a little bit more accessible, a little bit more universally loved than Flow is. So yeah, I'm gonna go with The Wild Robot. Okay, so next up is cinematography. How funny would it be if Wicked actually won here? Other than Wicked, I'd actually be happy with any one of the nominees winning here. So Doom Part 2, Nosferatu, Nickel Boys, Conclave. But they do typically like their big sweeping cinematography. So Lowell Crowley for The Brutalist makes a lot of sense. Conclave's gonna win Best Adapted Screenplay, but if there's one other category where it might surprise, it could be cinematography, because the composition of the shots in Conclave is just immaculate, okay? There's not a single frame of that movie that isn't pleasing to the eye. I'd love to see Greg Fraser win here for Doom Part 2. He would be my personal pick. I have got to go with what I think the Oscars are gonna predict. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Lowell Crowley for The Brutalist. Next up is editing. And what's funny is Joe Walker is currently #1 on the Awards Expert app, even though he's not even nominated at the Oscars. Usually there is a strong correlation between Best Editing and Best Picture contenders, but Critics' Choice have been known to deviate from this rule from time to time, because they have given editing to films like First Man and Baby Driver, although it did tie with Dunkirk that year. Which is why I could potentially see Challengers winning here, because it's very flashy editing. But I'm actually gonna agree with the Awards Expert app and predict Doom Part 2 wins here, because the editing snub for Joe Walker at the Oscars happened after voting for the Critics' Choice had finished. And Doom Part 2 is a masterclass in editing. I think any critic with a set of eyeballs knows that. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Doom Part 2, but watch out for Challengers. Next up is production design, and I'm fairly confident on this one. I'm gonna go with Wicked because of the emphasis on practicality in that film, when so much of it could have been done on green or blue screens. I mean, they built a moving train, for Christ's sake. So yeah, the critics love a bit of world building. Doom Part 1 did manage to win this category 3 years ago, so there's an argument to be made that Doom Part 2 could win again, but I think they're gonna wanna acknowledge something different this year. And yeah, Wicked is very much the Barbie of this year, so yeah, I think it's gonna go to Nathan Crowley and Lee Sandals for Wicked. The next up is costume design, and costume design and production design went hand in hand last year, except Barbie managed to win both at Critics' Choice Awards, and then Poor Things won both at BAFTA and the Oscars. So I'm gonna predict that costume design also goes to Wicked for Paul Tazewell's costume designs. But there's nobody in the costume design category that wouldn't be worthy. It is a very strong lineup. So next up is makeup and hair. And whilst this is another amazing selection of nominees, it does feel like a nice and easy one, and I think it's gonna go to The Substance. Yes, even though it's a horror movie and they haven't really acknowledged horror makeup for decades, but The Substance has the most makeup, it has the most discussed makeup of 2024. It's also transformational, with monster Eliza Sue being burned into our subconscious. I can still see a world where we get a surprise, like maybe seeing Wicked win here, because last year it kind of was a surprise when Barbie won, because that was mostly a, hair and wig type movie. It wasn't really a big emphasis on prosthetic makeup. Usually they do go for prosthetics. Everyone's sort of predicting Maestro to win, but then Barbie won. Yeah, The Substance just feels right, so I'm gonna predict The Substance. Okay, so next up is visual effects. This is a nice easy one. They usually go with the biggest blockbuster, which in this case is Doom Part 2. Not much else to say really. This category is kind of a gimme this year. Next up we've got Best Original Score, and this is an interesting one because Challengers got snubbed at Oscars, didn't even make the BAFTA long list, but managed to win at the Golden Globes. So the question I'm asking myself is, did the Critics' Choice Awards go with the doofy Challengers score before it got snubbed at the BAFTAs and Oscars, or had they decided to jump ship to something a little more traditional like the Majestic score in The Brutalist? I will say Challengers would be a cooler pick. I do think it's the most memorable score of 2024. And if voters at the Critics' Choice were feeling diplomatic, they would know The Brutalist is probably going to walk away with some awards. So if they want to see Challengers collect something, it would probably most likely win here or in editing. This is one of those categories where my head and my heart are at odds with each other. My heart says it's Challengers, but my head says it's The Brutalist. I do like listening to my heart, but my head is saying to play it safe, so yeah, I'm gonna say Daniel Blumberg wins for The Brutalist, and to be fair, it's still a very much deserved win. I just have a personal preference for Challengers. All right, so next up is Best Song, and sorry to tell you this, guys, but Emilia Perez is going to win in this category. Yeah, I'm not happy about it either, because I don't actually think the songs in Emilia Perez are all that good. But yeah, the song El Mal won at the Golden Globes, so it's probably gonna win here. It does make sense because there's the whole mentality that voters will wanna give it to an original song that's actually used in the movie. It's not an end credits song, and it's just easier to go with an original musical where there's original songs. And yeah, also El Mal won the Golden Globe, so it'll probably continue on with that. I will say if El Mal wins over El Camino, the other song on Emilia Perez, I'll be slightly happier because while I don't think El Mal is a particularly catchy song, can't really tell you the lyrics, I did appreciate the choreography and the camera work in the scene. I just don't really like the song. But yeah, I think El Mal is probably going to win it. I just found out that Carla Sofia Gascon isn't going to be in attendance at the Critics' Choice Awards anyway, so it's not like she's going to get up on stage to accept the award. And last but not least, we have Best Young Actor or Actress. This award typically goes to someone whose performance is in a Best Picture contender. So look at last year with Dominic Sessa in The Holdovers, Gabriel LaBelle in The Fabelmans, Jude Hill for Belfast, Alan Kim for Minari, and Roman Griffin Davies for Jojo Rabbit. Only thing is, none of the performances that are nominated here are in Best Picture contenders, so this category could go any way they want this year. So yeah, this one is a bit of a challenge. I mean, you can argue that Furiosa was the biggest movie of the bunch because it's got IP built into it, but that isn't normally a determining factor of who wins here. So yeah, about that Best Picture variable, I think the critics will lean more towards the performance from a film that had a lot of heart. So for me, Isaac Wang does make the most sense for his performance in Didi. I could see it going to Maisie Stella for My Old Ass because, for one, she is the main character in the film and it's also a coming-of-age film. So yeah, I could see it going to her. By that logic, I could also make an argument for Elliot Hefferman for Blitz because it very much is his movie as well. He does have a lot of screen time in that movie and the film kind of rests on his shoulders, but I think critics probably preferred My Old Ass to Blitz. That's just me though. Alicia Weir's had a good few years with her roles in, her titular roles in both Matilda and also Abigail. And there's rumors she might be playing Dorothy in Wicked Part 2, Wicked for Good. So maybe she could win as sort of a collective body of work. So yeah, it could be her, but they typically don't give this award to a performance that's from a horror movie, which Abigail is. But I'm gonna stick with my initial instinct, which is to go for Isaac Wang for Didi, who is also #1 on the Awards Expert app. But there you have it, guys. That was my discussion and predictions for the Critics' Choice Awards 2025. I will be doing a reactions video to the winners on February 8th, so if you haven't done so already, do click that subscribe button so you don't miss that. I've got also lots of award season content coming up on the channel, lots of prediction and analysis videos. But yeah, do let me know your thoughts and predictions on the Critics' Choice Awards in that comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Hearfield, and I'll see you next time.